It's an absolutely insane day in the world of Magic the Gathering. Wizards of the Coast is in ultra desperation mode. They are discontinuing products, cranking the price of other products by 50%, and at the same time, out of nowhere, they are changing the standard format rotation from 2 years to 3 years. This has huge implications.
Magic. History. I'm an old wizard. The magic historian. My bones hurt.
Greetings, owners of fine luxury cardboard rectangles, my friends. I hope the day finds you well because we have gathered for another crazy installment of Mega Magic News. Today is the Desperation edition because what Wizards is doing right now feels like they're scrambling at the walls trying to figure out what to do. It's absolutely insane. So let's start out by talking about the product discontinuation because this is a weird product that in a way shouldn't have existed, and that is Jumpstart. So starting with Throne of Eldraine, we're not going to be seeing the accompanying Jumpstart product that we saw with the main standard releases. So it looks like Wizards of the Coast has gotten the memo and went, hey, you know what? Maybe reskinning theme decks as Jumpstart packs wasn't the way to go, because Jumpstart started out as a banger concept where we say, okay, let's do draft light, where you don't have to sit down and draft all the cards. You can just get 2 random packs, slap them together. It's a fun time. And they created a bunch of unique cards with new artwork and everything for the experience. And Jumpstart was a massive success. But Wizards looked at theme decks and went, nobody wants to buy our theme decks. What do we do? And then they went, well, they love Jumpstart. Why don't we just lie to them and we'll call our theme decks Jumpstart and sell them with every set? It can't lose. It can't fail. Lo and behold, it failed miserably. They did not sell well, and it ruined the Jumpstart name. By the time Jumpstart 2022 rolled around, they had put out enough Junkstart that everyone just kind of went, no, sorry, I don't want Jumpstart. No, but you don't understand. This one's got all the fancy, like, check it out, anime stuff, and it's all cool, and you should get it. And some people went, yeah, you know what, all right, I'll get it. But overall, the market just went, Jumpstart is a dog. So Wizards went, okay, let's pull the winning part from the losing part. And it looks like from now on, starting with Throne of Eldraine, we can kiss all of that nonsense goodbye, which is fantastic. Now, what's not fantastic is the absolute scuzzbag move that Wizards is pulling with the newest secret lair, which, on a funny note, before we actually talk about the scuzziness, they accidentally released the announcement about the secret lair like 1 day in advance. So on the 6th, we had an article from the 7th talking about a secret lair deck that, after further investigation, looks like they might have intended to put the article out on the 8th when they're actually going, hey, it's available for sale. But either way, they have this new secret lair. It is called From Cute to Brute. The concept is actually fun. Take a look at this Care Bear level castle that we've got here. And then on the opposite side, it flips into Mega Demon Lord. So you do have a fun concept of the whole, hey, everything's light and cheery from cute to brute. So that is actually an alright idea. But here's the problem, friends. This is another one of those commander decks. Remember the heads I win, tails you lose? Nobody knew that meant Wizards of the Coast and you. Everybody thought that was, hey, the people playing the game. But people had to wait a whole year to get this secret lair. And the idea was the same thing. We're going to sell you 5 double-sided whatever cards that have new artwork, and then we're going to sell you 95 reprints. Now, the previous commander deck was mostly foils, right? Or at least had a predominant amount of foils. There was a ton of foils in this deck, at least almost half the deck, bare minimum. So you get a ton of foils, and the idea behind that deck was, hey, check it out. One of the people who works on Magic, one of the big names, Gavin, this is his personal deck. We've tweaked it down because we don't want to give you all the best reprints and everything, but ultimately, we're giving you this crazy commander deck that was designed by somebody who works for us. It's going to be a fun time. And people went, yeah! And they went, on top of that, we're creating special coin flip cards to go with it because it's a coin flip deck. And that's actually, as far as I understand, what caused it to take a whole year for them to get the commander decks out, because they couldn't get those coins. Printing the cards isn't that big a deal. But ultimately, what you need to take away from this is the second time we're getting a commander deck. The first time we got 5 special cards, half the deck was foil, and it came with Flippy McDippies that were specially made and only unique to that. And it was $100. Now we have a new commander. You might see where this is leading. We have a new commander deck coming out. Now this one, if you actually look at it, honestly, if you take a look at the deck list, you're going to start to go, okay, so what is this? It's a double-faced deck based around Essica. So you have a ton of double-faced cards in the deck. But when you look at the deck list, you're just going to go, this is unplayable. It is an unplayable pile of garbage, right? So you first of all understand that it's a garbage deck. But more importantly, we move on to the real issue, which is that it's $150. It's $150. We went from $100 for a Commander Secret Lair deck to $150. You get way fewer foils. You don't get a flip coin. So you're literally paying 50% more for less. This is emblematic of what Wizards of the Coast has become. How do we give them less and charge them more? This is absolutely insane. You're not even really paying for a deck you can play with. If you take this deck out of the box and you head down and try and play with it at a Commander event, even at the most casual Commander night, you are going to get raffle stomped because it's not a deck. It's a singles package. They went ahead and took the first one and they went, okay, look, they bought this commander deck when we only gave them 5 new cards, but we were able to sell them like a pre-con commander deck for this huge price. And that's what they're doing again for even more now, where you get 5 unique cards they're reprints, but at least they have unique artwork with a fun concept. And the rest is just reprints, where Wizards of the Coast has gone behind the scenes and went, okay, what's the secondary market value on a bunch of double faces? Let's just slap them in here. This is literally buy this for parts. That's what this is. Wizards is testing the waters of, can we sell a commander deck where we spent 0 time designing the deck? It won't actually work, but people will buy it for parts. They'll look at it and go, $150. Secondary market value is roughly maybe $250 to $300. So in a way, I'm doubling my money. I'd be crazy not to buy it. That's the insanity we're dealing with now. They're offering less. They put less work into making it. It's not as good a product, and it costs you 50% more. And the only justification that I can see for it is Wizards of the Coast going, well, look, man, we needed to make a lot of money off a 30th anniversary, and it didn't. So now all products just have to cost more. This is a test to see if people will pay it and go for it. And I don't know what the answer is, but I'm guessing it's probably going to sell. But this is the problem with Magic right now. We have the corporate higher-ups going, yo, how do we extract as much money from people right now as possible? This is terrible for the long-term health of the game. No care is being given to the long-term stewardship of the game. And the short-sighted, let's see if we can charge you 50% more while giving you less, is an absolutely insane move that clearly illustrates that Wizards of the Coast's only priority is extracting money for the shareholders. And this becomes even more evident when we move in to the next part of today's news, which is, and actually before we do, I just want to take a quick moment to talk about Wizards of the Coast is trumpeting how they want to help LGSs, and LGSs are a big deal, but they're now putting Amazon sales buttons directly in their articles. So it'll take you to Amazon, and then it's like, do you want to buy from Amazon, which is listed first, or here's a store locator. You can use our sketchy store locator that has a hard time working properly to find a store to go and buy this. I mean, it's something. They didn't just put the Amazon button by itself, but to me, it's straight up not like, hey, here you go. Here's how to find your LGSs you want to get. Like, Amazon is becoming more and more the vector for Wizards of the Coast. And they're turning around and going at the same time. You may remember a while back, they said, hey, guys, like, Standard doesn't seem to be doing that well overall. Nobody's going out to stores and playing it. And we were wondering if you could tell us why. We have our own internal reasons. And so ultimately what happened is the Wizards of the Coast decided the change they're going to make to Standard is that rotations are going to now happen every 3 years. So instead of 2 years, every 3 years, so your cards will have a higher longevity, right? You have less time to, or not less time, you have more time to enjoy your cards instead of going, all right, the window for these is ever closing. Now, a lot of you may not even remember what Standard was like or have dealt with it because you've just jumped in the last couple of years, and Standard isn't really, you're just like, Standard? Do you mean that format they only play on Arena? Because Wizards of the Coast drove people onto Arena by the scores, by the hundreds, by the thousands, however you want to put it. They went to game stores, and when the pandemic was happening, they were like, yo, you want to stay in the WPN? Well, great news. If you get people to play in arena events, that counts towards your store like you were having real events. And we just want to help you during the pandemic. That's absolutely what it's about. And we're definitely not trying to pull your customers into paying us directly and cutting you out. A spoiler alert. That's absolutely what they were trying to do. They went, okay, let's get everybody on Arena. In fact, Arena is Magic now. Y'all like playing paper Magic? Forget about it. We're shutting down the Pro Tour paper-wise entirely, going it all onto Arena and not telling you how to get into the Pro Tour. And then Arena went glorp, and they went, oh no, wait a minute. You mean this isn't going to be everything? Why isn't everybody dumping their money into it? And then they went, well, we made so much money off Standard over the years. What's going on? Why aren't we making all this money off of Standard? Why aren't people buying all these paper cards? And it's like, because Standard is now everything has a rotation. Wizards is secretly like torpedoing every format with rotations, right? But Standard used to be the only actual rotating format. And people are getting stoked about moving from 2 to 3 years. We had a format called Extended. It was 4 years. It wasn't this banger, amazing scenario. Basically what happened was Wizards of the Coast went, hey, what are the problems with Standard? And people came along and said, okay, look, you're not spending the time to develop balanced environments. You have your fire design where you're going, hey, we just need to make big flashy cards that make an impression on everybody, and they have to make an impact. It needs to be crazy. So you're leaning in to fire design and making big, powerful rares that really affect the environment, and then refusing to ban them until you've sold all the boxes of the set. Hey, this super strong deck based on Meat Hook Massacre is around, so we're just gonna ban something completely else over here, because here's the thing, Meat Hook Massacre is a big, expensive mythic, and we don't want to ban the cards that are selling boxes. As soon as, hey Billy, is the last box out of the warehouse? Oh, you know what? We just realized this card's a real problem. We're gonna ban it. So you've got crazy power levels, you've got a refusal to ban stuff, you have a increased production schedule where they're just cranking nonstop. And so people are like, slow down, take care with the format, actually have some stewardship over it, care about Standard as a format, and they're like, yo, I hear you. Prices are too high, cards aren't getting banned, format's not being maintained. We're gonna make it 50% longer. And it's like, no, you know how you have that pit full of wild dogs that you only go in and clean up like every once in a while? Well, good news, we're gonna let the wild dogs run even more wild for longer. Like, bro, what do you think this is going to lead to? More power creep. Every set has to make a splash, has to make an impact. That's how Magic works now. Mark Rosewater has come out and said it is a necessity. Every set has to make a splash. It has to hit Standard. It has to make an impact on Modern, and sometimes, if they can, Legacy. Wizards is trying to push rotations into every format. What do you think the Modern Horizons and sets made specifically for Modern are? Look at Ragavan. Ragavan is a prime example of how Wizards forces rotations into non-rotating formats. That's their goal, and Ragavan shows that they are succeeding swimmingly, right? Ragavan is a powerhouse. So what's going to happen now? They're going to drop cards into Standard that need to be powerful enough to reach into other formats. These are going to warp Standard around them, because how could they not? Remember, the poster child for fire design is Oko, those abs, boy. So Oko was completely bonkers, and Wizards was just like, we didn't even know. Hey, we're just pushing all this craziness out. So at least with the 2-year rotation, you go, well, you know what? Shieldred and Fabled Passage really do seem to be dominating everything, but 12 more months of it. And that's to maintain our value. It's definitely not because collector boxes keep crashing and you've realized that collector boxes are a diminishing return that's literally crushing the singles market, is it? Oh no, it's because you want people to have card longevity and whatever, and also you've been cannibalizing Standard in every possible way for Pioneer. So they come out and they go, hey, why is Standard flagging? And it's like, I can tell you why, but it's an answer you don't want to hear. For the first 15, 20 years when you actually had this sort of Standard concept, you were actually being stewards of it. You were growing up a forest bit by bit, and the trees would grow slowly. Everything would enter into the Standard format. The game was all about making sure the Standard format was the most comfortable entryway for new players. Come on in, the waters are fine, have a good time, and then spread out to other formats, and everything would naturally flow from Standard. But then Wizards went, yo, look at those Commander guys. Look at them casual boys. No, I want some of that, right? So then they went, well, Magic's all about Commander. It's all about Commander. Get rid of that Standard nonsense. Nobody cares about that. But Standard requires a ton of support to make it work as a format because you're constantly needing to run on the hamster wheel. The reason Standard worked before was you could walk into any LGS, any part of Wizards Play Network on a Friday night with a Standard deck, you were going to find people to play with. Every single time. It was called Standard because it was in fact the Standard format that we would all play. So you could go to any LGS, you could go from the LGS, you could move up the chain. Sure, being a pro player was never going to be a big valuable payout experience, but it was an aspirational path for people to follow. And people genuinely did like that. The communal experience of it. I'm sorry, but Arena can never replace that. And Arena is a diluted version of things where you also have a crazy amount of people acting in a way that makes them feel like AIs. It's a completely different experience. So Wizards of the Coast is neglecting to manage Standard the way that they used to go, let's make sure that there's nothing wrong with Standard. Standard is a solid experience where we don't end up with the format being warped where there's only one deck in the meta, play Oko or get out, right? Like that's the scenario that we're in now. So they're going to go, boom, we've got cards like Meat Hook Massacre. That's the power level we're dealing with. They're putting those cards out. They're going to have to top those cards now because when new sets come out, they have to compete with pre-existing sets. Also, does this mean they're going to extend the amount of time they print these sets for? Probably not. So there's a lot of underlying things that are going on, but ultimately just increasing the amount of time of the format. Standard gets super stale as well. They're not willing to properly manage it. They got rid of core sets that brought some kind of balance to it. And they'll try and tell you that core sets, well, the reason we stopped core sets is because they're unpopular. And it's like, okay, so let me get this straight. Core sets can be entirely reprints. If you didn't know this, core sets were originally entire reprint sets designed to get cards into players' hands. But now, instead of doing these reprint sets for Standard, where you can get all these cards reasonably, they go, oh, no. Reprint sets? Yeah, that's Commander Masters. That's $400-500 a box. That's how we do reprints. No. Standard has to be all newness with one reprint tossed into a set to get you hyped enough to be dumb enough to buy the set. Like, Wizards is in absolute insane desperation mode. The stuff they're doing now is absolutely crazy. Trying to cash grab for 50% more on the boxes, turning around and going, look, all the things you guys want for us to fix for Standard costs money. So we see that Standard is a tire fire. Let it burn higher and longer. We promise that we're going to be good stewards of it, though. Remember when we said Alchemy was a format where we never did bannings and then we banned Grinning Ignis because it would be cheaper for us to do that? They never are direct with us. They're always trying to manipulate us. And this announcement of, we're going to 3-year Standard, and guess what? We have a bunch of great plans that we're not going to tell you about next, means they don't have any plans, or those plans are bad for us. And cynical me says those plans are bad for us. Now, I told you guys we were going to have some fun with other card games, so let's end this off on a crazy note. Salutations, possessors of nice, voluptuous cardboard rectangles. I, as always, am Excelsior McJuggins, here to invite you to my carnival of debauchery. Do not bring your worthless children. Tonight, I shall be putting on display the finest of anime waifus. We shall delve into the deepest realms of cardboard debauchery. Be there or don't.